Good afternoon. Welcome to International Women's Day celebrations. We are looking at this year marking the day where we are looking at breaking the bias or stopping the bias. And I'm very honored and privileged this afternoon to be speaking to two amazing ladies. One is a mentor, the other one is a mentee, and we'll be getting to hear more about them. And so, Madam Martha Koi, I leave it to you to introduce your mentor to us.
All right. Thank you so much, Lorraine and Epic Lorraine Life Events for hosting us. My name is Martha Githui. If you know me from a different setting, I'm Koi Githui. And here with me, we have Angela Wamola. So I'll give a brief background about how we met. So I'm in the technology space. Started in telecommunications, so in Safaricom, and then have since transitioned to Microsoft in the IT space. And so being in the technology and the engineering space, we were few and far between women. And Angela happened to be the most senior lady in technology at the time when I joined the workforce. And so she's been instrumental in terms of just, someone who has already had to break and open up the way for certain conversations. And I believe with time we've established some sort of reverse mentorship role where at one point she's the mentor, I'm the mentee, and at another point it's the reverse. And I'm very, very happy to have Angela join us.
Fantastic. That's such a great introduction. And you light up as you speak about your mentor. This is really interesting, and I'm loving the conversation. So Angela, over to you. So who is Martha? She's your mentee. She's told us who you are to her. So tell us about Martha.
So Martha is a friend, and more importantly, I think she's in my circle of eagles in terms of people who I can grow with, different perspectives, to show me another way, and that we can be able to share life together in terms of not only our growth, in terms of where we want to go with our careers, but also how we want to enjoy it as we work it out, because we haven't figured it out completely. But I think perspectives that she can give me and I can give her help us to shape the way forward. So, as she said, we met way back in when we were both in Safaricom, both in the space of technology and trying to figure out, how can this area of, that's predominantly male, help us also to grow our careers, because we have chosen it. We didn't just, we're not victims of it. We can't say that, oh no, we got there by mistake. We chose that field. And so we have to make it work for us. So that's where we started. And we've both since left that organization and moved on to different organizations. But along the way, we're still, talking to each other. We're still sharing stories and seeing how we can understand, what exactly is that story behind the glory? How did you get there? What did you have to do? What can I do differently? And I think we can navigate continuously these conversations. So for us, it's not something that has a start and stop date. I don't think we can even foresee that. It's just, I guess, as they say, life is for a season, and friends are for also sometimes for a season or for a lifetime. So we're doing life together.
Wow. Ish. All right. I'm going to be doing mine with my mentor very soon. So I hope she gets to say such nice things as you have just said about Martha. That's really amazing. Thank you very much, ladies. Now, Angela, as you know, International Women's Day is a global day celebrating historical, cultural, and political achievements. The day is observed, globally to support the support of taking action against gender inequality around the world. The very fact that this year's theme, which I truly, truly love, is about breaking the bias. And the reason I loved a conversation with you and Koi is the fact that you are, like you just said, predominantly in a male driven career or industry. How has that been that you have paved way for young people like Koi to come in and say, if Angela has done it, I can do it? What has that, just paint for us what that journey has been for you? Because you've broken some bias for you to be where you are in the industry that you're in.
So I think, the biases are basically a lens which people just view life with. And unfortunately, I think the biases come from not having a larger circle of different perspectives to be able to sort of inform what lens you should wear at a particular time. And for us as women in the telecommunications or technology sector, one of the biases comes from like way back when you're in school, that say sciences are not for you, that girls don't do well in particular subjects, or that bias is even traditional as you won't get married, you're too you won't be able to find a husband, you're too there is some perception that knowing sciences means that you know it all, or people can't be able to relate to you. And these are just because, like I said, maybe there were too few people in the field at that time so that you could be able to put a face to what that lens looks like. So therefore, the face of technology is a man, because all around us in society, it's a man. You've never seen your mother or your sister or your auntie as a technology. So myself, I chose this career of engineering because my uncle was a civil engineer. So I didn't see any civil engineers who were women at that point in time. And so for me, as I continued to walk this journey all the way from beginning to select the subjects that were going to help me take the career that I wanted to, and move into that space of going into a hall in the university and figuring out and seeing for the first time that, you're the minority. We were 10% of the class, and feeling that frustration of maybe you made a mistake because you just don't have encouragers along the line to help you or reaffirm that don't worry about the environment around you. It's about your choice. You need to really understand the why. Why are you doing it? Are you proving a point to the world, or is it for you? Because if you're trying to convince the world, you only have so much steam in you. But if you're doing it for you, then you'll always go back to why you chose it. What difference do you want to make? And so for me, that's been my narrative in terms of the mentorship program, that it's just sort of unraveling and demystifying a woman who's wearing different hats, who is choosing to do life in this space, regardless of whether there are other men or women, but understanding the why. What difference do I want to make? And therefore, how can I now share those learnings for those who want to take them and use them to be able to craft their own way as well?
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And so then, Koi, you have people like Angela, engineers, who have paved the way for you. They have had to fight many battles so that then people like yourselves can come in and enjoy the space. And I know, and we'll get to that conversation, I know you are now, even fighting bigger wars and saying, we want to sit on the table and not just, bring tea or just be ignored or just, But before we get there, what would you say are, some of the achievements people like Angela have done for you that have paved a way for you to really be who you are? Because I have interacted with you and I know you're an incredible engineer in what you do.
Right. First of all, I'd say this mentor-mentee relationship started, it was like a happenstance, right? It was not like, hi, Angela, I'd like you to be my mentor sort of thing. It was, I found her leading an initiative around women in technology and how to increase that pipeline. And this common thing that we came together to do to help the others who were, right from primary school, actually right from kindergarten all the way to high school and university, is that's what brought us together to see that, okay, we are where we are. Yes, there are other heights to scale, but then there's all this work that we need to do and someone needs to do it. So in the process of working on this is where, we were able to it was almost like exchange notes of, okay, so if we keep doing this is the effect that it is having. And so Angela, being 2 or 3 steps ahead of me, was able to now just, help in terms of navigate the waters. So how that has had an effect is that I'm able to be more conscious about there is my ability, yes. And this is the thing that we always bring out very clearly. We're not saying because we are women, we are not expecting to perform at the same, standard as the men. We are here, we are honing our skill, we are working on what it is that we know. And what we're trying to do is ensure that we are seen for what we're bringing to the table and not necessarily from the point of view of who you are, right? And, this cuts across. And, when we're talking about breaking the bias, I know for this focus, it's on the women, but, it applies in different things, people of color and a wider space. So what I'd say is that in terms of being able to be a better version of me in terms of, performance wise. I mean, one of the things that I really admired was Angela's work ethic. She was very chop, just if we are saying we're going to get this done, let's get it done the best way that it can get done. And so that's one of the things that I've been able to work on, even as I speak to the other women that are up and coming. And the other thing is that because we are so few, we have to remember that now the spotlight is on us and we are representing, we look like we're 100% of women. That time you're 5 of you. So any small mistake means 25% of the women are not performing, as in the impact is so massive. So we always have to keep this in mind. And I have kept that going, and I've ensured that, one, be a very good representative of what it is that I do in my work. And then 2, know that, there's I'm the elephant in which other, people will need to stand on my shoulders to be able to reach to the next place. And so this is, I'd say this is part of the things I should look at in a broader picture.
Just listening to the two of you, I really can see the whole mentor-mentee just from what, Angela, how you began this conversation. And one of the things that I know Koi has been very vocal about is that she will not be silenced. You can't silence her voice. This girl, small as she is, you will not silence her voice. And then therefore, I really wonder, Angela, do you imagine an equal world, even in your space? Because, I often hear as women, even as we're fighting for our equality, we're saying, and that's what Koi just mentioned, I am not here as a woman. I am here as an engineer. So please, before we begin this whole business of elect me because I'm a woman, or can I become a CEO because I'm a woman? No, I am there on merit. Let's start there, first of all. So I'm just wondering, in terms of, and I don't know how much older you are than Koi, and we shall not get into that. You look very good, by the way. Is how are you not silenced, for example? Did you have mentors before you that then paved way for you? Especially because I can imagine when you began as an engineer, there weren't very many men in that, especially in technology. I mean, 1998, that's when we started handling computers and computer classes, if I remember correctly. So then who did you have for you to then look at and benchmark, so to speak? And how have you managed to keep your voice then going? Because this girl is standing on your shoulders and you cannot silence her. She will say what she wants to say. You guys deal with it.
Yeah, I think I love that about her. And I think that's why we are a team in this mentorship program that we're doing together, because she sharpens me and I sharpen her, as the adage says, iron sharpeneth iron. I think I didn't have mentors before me who showed me the way, what to do, who lifted me up, who gave me opportunities, and just basically, you could read about them. Obviously, there's the world of reading, and you could see them. But practically here in my world, in Kenya, in the space that I'm in, and venturing into telecommunications sector. I didn't have that. And so that's why for me I resonate with what Koi is saying, in that I just show up. I think it's about showing up, being your best, because that's where it starts. That don't be the victim. Don't say, well, I don't have this person, nobody's helping me, whatever. You can begin to create that path. Now, when you're there, for me, as I said, and what Koi has said, is that I began to look around me and say, there are many who are following this path, and they will be looking to see that even if you didn't have the opportunity to get a mentor to help you and hold your hand, but can you begin to create that platform for them? And it's like mentorship is about, it's not an invitation that come and I'll be your mentor. It's about, look, here is what I have. Here's what I have to offer. I'm going to try and build some sort of processes or frameworks that you can use so that it sort of has a sustainable way of continuing, and then that way we can begin to move the needle. Because like you're saying, levers that are used across the world in terms of, say, Black empowerment, women empowerment, have more women, those are not sustainable. Because if you enter that platform with the mentality that you were there because you're the token woman, you were nominated or whatever, it's not sustainable. But I think the more of us who show up, the more of us who create those platforms amongst ourselves and build those networks, with time, there is a tipping point. It's like they say, you're rocking the boat a little bit. You're rocking it, and at some point it will flip. Okay, maybe not now, maybe not in the next 10 years, but I think that's more sustainable because we're building on numbers. We're getting people to sharpen ourselves. So Koi will begin to have her circle of mentors and mentees around her, will be thinking like her and saying, yes, we need to show up. We need to have our voice in the room. And with time, we'll begin to have more of us who now demystify the bias of not having women in certain sectors, whatever sector that will be.
Yo, I love it. So can you be my mentor also? I'm not in the technology space. If anything, I know nothing about technology. I drive Koi nuts. Show up. Be your best. Love it. Absolutely love it. And so finally, Angela, do you see us having a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, and also a world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive?
We have to hope something. I think we have to hope, because that keeps us going, that there is change and we can be the change that we want to see. It's not for certain. It might not be in my lifetime, but I think as every person who has lived before me and walked this journey has started, I think they lived with that hope that they could make a difference. And whether or not we see it in our lifetime, I think the gift is that you were able to do it without the assurance that that you would be the Nelson Mandela or the Wangari Maathai of our times. I think nobody who is a hero started off saying that they wanted to be a hero and make a difference, but they just went ahead and did it. And so for us, I think that's what the mindset we should have, that change is difficult. Nobody wants change. And the status quo today is there because it benefits certain people. If there is an inequality in our area, it's because it's benefiting somebody else. So it's not in their interest to make it easy for you to benefit from it. They will do what they need to do as a gatekeeper to keep the rest of you out of it. But if we remain consistent, if we remain insistent and persistent, just showing up, putting your voice in, that's enough for me. I think that is enough to be assured somehow that change will happen.
Very well said. And even, looking at Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, and all the heroes that you've mentioned, it started with one person at a time. I think we can't just imagine that we'll change the entire world overnight, but it's just one voice at a time, where Koi steps on your shoulders as Angela, her mentor, and she continues and says, I will not be silenced and I will continue to mentor other people. So Koi, just finally on the same point, do you see a world where, we're going to have equality, there's going to be a world that is diverse and inclusive as a younger person and as you mentor other people behind you now?
Yes, I see a world already. I see a world where women are having equal opportunity And like Angela said, bias actually is, it's a state of mind. So the bias is not necessarily outside of us. We are also the ones who are biased, where we are like, okay, that's not a place for us. It's traditionally been for this type of people. So we tend to remain bubbling under. But I feel like the world is opening up more and more towards giving us an equal opportunity in terms of what it is we want to pursue, how far it is that we want to go. We need to break the bias within ourselves to be able to take up these places. And as we take up these places, we, you can just do a small hole where you pass through only. But you need to ensure that the hole is wide enough for us and the whole village that is willing to get through. So definitely keeping the hope alive, and not just keeping the hope alive, but doing something about it. And one thing I wanted to mention about, the mentor-mentee relationship, it's highly driven by the mentee, right? And as much as it's reverse mentorship, it's highly driven by the mentee. So you also need to know, okay, this is where I want to go. By the way, Angela was primarily very shy when we met, very surprisingly enough. And so, there would always be these conversations of, okay, I'm trying to get into leadership. And she's like, I'm trying to be more vocal. How do we have that, thing going? So it's one of those things that you have to be very intentional about. Go about it like it's not just for you, but for those who come behind you. And we do have the opportunity to break the bias.
Love it. Love it. And very, very finally, and this I learned from my other mentor who I've never met. I've admired for many, many years. Her name is Oprah. And her final question usually is, Angela, what do you know for sure?
I just know for sure that I can be the change that I want to see. I know for sure that I will attract that which I put out. So I will attract Koi and others who are like-minded with me. And I think together we will go far.
Awesome. Koi, what do you know for sure?
I know that the world is full of opportunities for those who want to seize them. And I know that the world has become a much better place for us, even as women, in terms of just being able to be who we are and to pursue what we want to pursue. However, I also know that these things come to people who are intentional about where they're headed, intentional about the legacy they want to leave behind. And with intent and, surrounding yourself with the right people, I do know that we will definitely keep breaking the bias.
Oh, thank you very much, ladies. Amazing. So the sign for this March 8th, International Women's Day, is break the bias. I think that's how they're doing it, right? So can we do it? Break the bias. Together, break the bias. Fantastic. Thank you so very much, ladies.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.